Stop smiling like that. Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Watch It Bro podcast. I am Tristan,
And I am Marshall.
and well, here we are. I got nothing. The original goal was to have something fun and clever to say during each episode in response to, and we are the Watch It Bros, or we are the whatever. I can't come up with anything, but I always feel like I should say something right there. And we are here today looking at the movie Airheads.
Yes, that was my pick. I didn't think you'd ever seen it. I only saw it recently. Not recently, but like 8 years ago, the first time.
Yeah, I think I had caught bits and pieces of it, but I hadn't seen it all the way through. This is going to be a very interesting episode, I think.
I think so too.
But let's get into the movie details. Airheads was released August 5th of 1994, directed by Michael Lehman, written by Rich Wilkes, starring a big cast of names that you probably know. We'll just go down the list. Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Judd Nelson, Michael Richards, Joe Montana, and Michael McKean, who you might know as Saul's brother on Better Call Saul.
I was gonna say he was from Spinal Tap.
I haven't seen Spinal Tap,
Oh, okay.
so I would not know him from that. But you would know Joe Montana as the voice of Fat Tony, or as his role on Criminal Minds. He
Yes.
did like 15 years on that show. Judd Nelson, of course, Breakfast Club. We did a shout out to him last episode when little Eddie Munster was dressed like him for the old man's birthday party.
Yeah, we did.
We're seeing Chris Farley come back in this movie.
Yes. Yes, we do have a bounce back.
We do. I had some notes on Chris Farley, and so we'll get into that when he shows up in the film.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting episode. But since it's your choice and you picked this thing, I'm gonna let you get on with it.
I picked this thing that sounds like you enjoyed it immensely.
So start us off.
Airheads. So the movie starts out like a lot of the movies, the credits at the beginning. We've got Motorhead's Born to Raise Hell playing while the credits go, and a bunch of rock images are coming across the screen. Guitars, drums, backstage passes, tickets, people, no one in particular on the screen, just imagery invoking live performances, concerts, and things like that. And that goes on for about a minute and a half ish.
Rachel said it was a very cute intro.
Oh, that's good. It's got that 90s feel to it of like a stop motion almost. If you remember the opening from Spider-Man Far From Home.
No.
Okay, well, never mind then. Anyway, we're still talking about the intro. Let's move on. We see a long-haired dude riding a motorcycle. He's on screen for a moment, and then we make our way to the radio station KPPX, and we hear the great Joe Montana talking. He is Ian the Shark. He's saying it's 98, 95 degrees out in LA. It's a hot one, so take off your leather jackets. He is a rock station DJ from the 90s, so he's got that edge where he makes fun of the audience. He's like, "Hey, you idiots, come on down and listen to the radio," or he's got his signature style of talking.
Yeah, KPPX is kind of, I guess, I wanted to say kind of what you'd consider for us Seattleites, KZOK. But no, because KZOK is playing the classic rock hits, and this is current day. So,
Yeah, this is current day 90s. I would say it's more like the rock of
or
Seattle,
the end.
or the end. The end was a little more alternative than just basic rock.
Okay. So yeah, probably 99.9. Is that the
Yeah.
rock? Okay. So yeah, it's like it's the equivalent of what that would be for anyone in Seattle who's listening.
Yeah. So he's hyping up the day, getting things going on the radio, and he intros a new song from the Sons of Thunder on KPPX Rebel Radio.
Not to be confused with the Dice of Thunder, which
No,
is a fantastic podcast that you should check out if you're not listening to them already.
I did have a follow up. You derailed me. Now I know what it's like.
Sorry, I thought that was a great Sons of Thunder, Dice of Thunder. Dice of Thunder is a great podcast. I've been
It,
wanting to give them a shout out. I needed a segue. There it was.
it was a good segue. I just wasn't prepared for it, and I don't know why I wasn't prepared for it.
It was right there. It was right there like a tall glass of milk.
Yes. I like it.
I do too.
So it cuts from Ian the Shark in his radio booth to the outside of a building, Palatine Records. We see the biker pull up, and it's Brendan Fraser, and his name is Chaz. He pulls his hair back, he takes his leather jacket off and his helmet, he puts it all in the little side pegs of his bike. He's got this, I want to say, I'm doing air quotes here, disguise, because he's not really disguised, but he took his jacket off and he's
He's dressing up like a delivery guy to look like he's there for a reason.
yes, but it's a bad delivery guy costume.
Oh, it's horrible. And like, I mean, we get to it in just a minute where he walks in and they're like, the idiot in the delivery man disguise is here again. So it's like,
Yeah,
this already hasn't worked for him
right.
on multiple enough occasions to where they know him as he's walking through the door.
Exactly. Yeah, he slips in. The security pegs him right away. It's that guy again, and he jumps onto an elevator, and it closes. He gets away briefly, but I mean, he gets on the elevator. It closes, and security's already calling other securities like, "Hey, that delivery guy's back." He stands out. Basically, it'd be like Hulk Hogan walking into any place in the '90s. Like, I know that guy.
That was your go-to.
um, the movie seems to have something to say about rock and roll and record labels, and it's gets to that point really quick when the elevator opens on the next floor. You've got a band with a manager getting the guys off. He's like, "You guys just be crazy for these guys. You don't have to worry about talking. They don't care about any of that. Just be crazy. Wet yourself if you have to." It's more about image versus actual talent.
Right, and giant cat in the hat hats.
Yes, yes, four guys in giant cat in the hat hats.
It's almost like they're saying to make it in rock and roll, you have to have a gimmick. You need
Yeah.
you need a gimmick more than you need good music.
Exactly. Chaz is moving around the office, poking his head in places. You hear a secretary say, "Oh, it's the guy. I see him." And he just kind of walks past and moves on to the next one. And this is where he runs into record executive Jimmy Winger, who is played by Judd Nelson. And he's got his demo reel. He's like, "Hey, I need you to listen to this. Just give us a chance. You'll like it." And he's like, "I get it. I'd love to listen to that, but it's unsolicited. I can't touch it. Hit the bricks and have a good day."
He's trying to say no without having a problem.
Right, without upsetting this man, just saying, "Hey, it's unsolicited, I can't touch it. Bye." So he closes the door of his office and security grabs him, tosses him out, tosses their demo reel on the ground, and we move on. We cut to Chaz watching MTV, shirtless, sitting on a couch, air guitaring along with the music.
As you do in the 90s.
Yes, as you do in the '90s, and his girlfriend comes in the door, Kayla, played by Amy Locane.
I did not have that.
You're gonna get a lot of names because I want to give everybody their due with this one.
Okay.
And I just kept well, because there was so many names and people I recognized, the few that I didn't exactly recognize right away, I wanted to at least point out.
Okay. I can appreciate that.
But she comes home, starts telling him about her day and how work wasn't great, and then she asks if he mailed the rent check, and he's like, "Well, he didn't leave me any stamps, so I didn't do it." And she's like, "You couldn't have bought stamps?" And she kind of wanders back into the bathroom where she comes out upset. She's holding a shoebox and is like, "What happened to my makeup?" He's like, "Oh, I dropped it in the toilet. I shouldn't be leaving it on the tank." And she just chucks it at him and calls him a butt. I, I didn't have to edit that. She calls him a butt.
She does call him a butt. And like I have in my notes like, all right, brief summary of the relationship. He's a bum and she's violent.
Yes. But they continue to talk a little bit, yell about the living situation, living roles, like, "I'm working, what are you doing? Why don't you get a job and help out?" And he's like, "Well, selling the band is my job. It's a lot of work going out there, going to the record companies, going to the clubs, getting my name out there and talking to people. I mean, you sit in a nice air conditioned office all day."
Yeah, he's really making the situation better.
Which was does not go over well, so she headbutts him.
True. I I yes.
I mean, to to say, "I'm working, I'm out in the hot sun, you're in an air conditioned office." That's I feel that deserves a headbutt.
No. I can't say I agree. He deserves to get thrown out.
Yes, and that's what happens. She kicks him out, insults the demo. He's like, "I wrote this song for you," and she's like, "You didn't write that for me. You wrote it before you met me." So it cuts to her tossing all his CDs, his music stuff out the window while he's getting on his bike and driving away. And based on movies and TV, that's a classic relationship for the rock and roll lifestyle.
Yeah, we won't even touch on.
But at this point, we move over to meet Steve Buscemi's character, Rex. Rex is stocking shelves in a toy store.
It's like a knockoff Toys R Us or like a KB Toys or something
Yeah,
like
it,
that.
it didn't give any names or anything, but it felt like a KB toy store, not a Toys R Us. He's stocking the shelves. Chaz is kind of sitting there playing with some Nickelodeon putty tube thing. He's just sticking his finger in it and stretching it. He's talking about Kaylee or Kayla, his girlfriend.
You and names.
It's not as bad as John, but yes, me with names. Where was I? Oh yeah, yeah. Chaz is just sitting there complaining. Yeah, she threw me out again, which comes up like, oh, this isn't the first time this has happened. And Rex comes down from the ladder and tells his supervisor that he's leaving. And his supervisor's like, well, he didn't mop the floor and restock the end caps. He's like, so I'm leaving. He's like, I'll tell the boss. Like, eh. They just kind of leave. I don't know if that was Rex giving his saying I don't care. I'm quitting. I'm leaving, or if he's just I'm done for the day.
My take on it was like he has something to do, so he's punching out. He's done for the day. He'll be back on his next shift, and the guy's like, "Well, I'm gonna tell on you." And Rex is like, "Yeah,
Yeah, it's like do that. I'll be back anyway. And if I come back and don't have a job, you'll have to deal with me.
yeah." Basically, he gets to do whatever he wants to because the other guy's scared of him.
Yes. So they leave. They head outside where we meet Adam Sandler's character, Pip.
Who is an entrepreneur?
Yes, yes, he has a pool cleaning service, Pip's Pool Cleaning.
That's cool.
Mhm. So Pip's out there, the van, there to pick up Rex and meet up with Chaz. Chaz is complaining about the others not focusing on the band enough, how they have jobs, and it's like we need to focus on the music, man. Rex informs Pip that Chaz is going to be staying with them a while, so they can rock out at home more and work on the band. So they take off. Chaz following on his bike, and this is where we find out that Pip is Rex's little brother. As they're headed up the stairs,
Oh, actually, I didn't catch that they were brothers until later.
oh yeah, he calls him little bro.
Oh, I
Just as they're headed up the stairs and talking about how they're going to make it big now that they have time to focus. But Chaz is there and they can focus on the music.
okay. I thought it was just a vernacular of just being like, "Yay, bro."
Oh, that could have been, but it's mentioned a couple times.
Well, that's where I pieced it again, and coming up in a little bit, I'll touch on where that is, where they actually someone says you're brothers,
Yeah. So in the apartment, Rex gives Pip a crash test dummy toy.
which is awesome. That apartment's so awesome.
Yeah, it's the walls are covered in posters and toy boxes and just there's not a square inch of drywall to be seen. It's got drum set in the living room.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I don't know what else to say.
Hmm?
Like, that's the dream. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Me and you each have our own rooms that are similar.
Yep. We do. But from that and looking around the apartment, you can tell that Rex brings home a lot of toys from the toy store.
I'm sure he pays for them all.
Probably not probably not paying for 'em, but Chaz notices some toy squirt guns, and Rex pulls one out and it's like, "Yeah, these were discontinued because they look too real." And Chaz like, "You got yourself a little arsenal here." And Rex is filling up one with hot pepper sauce. He's like, "You spray this in someone's eyes and they're coming up the balcony, man, they're gonna mess them up."
It's no joke though. No one wants hot sauce in the eye.
And then he shoots it at a Stretch Armstrong they got hanging up,
I had a
which
Stretch Armstrong.
just goes to show all the toys in the apartment. Yes, you did. It broke at some point.
Yeah, I think we tried to see how far we could stretch him before he would break.
That sounds about right.
That's probably why he broke.
Probably.
I had him for a while though.
Yeah. I don't think we did that right away. Honestly, I don't remember what caused him to break. I remember he got a rip in his arm.
Yeah, I remember that, and I think that's when we were like, "Well, he's already. We're gonna have to throw him away because he's leaking Stretch Armstrong fluid all over the place. So let's see how far we can stretch him before he breaks."
That was a fantastic idea.
We thought so at the time.
Yeah. And it was fun.
I I don't remember it.
Well, I do. So now we cut over to KPPX Rebel Radio Show featuring the Sons of Thunder. It's kind of like I would say we've in the Seattle area we have a loud and local thing that happens sometimes where local bands are highlighted, and that seems kind of what this is. So our boys Rex, Chaz, and Pip are at the show, and Rex is looking at them. I'm like, didn't we blow these guys off the stage about 6 months back at this? I'm guessing it was like a Battle of the Bands thing that they were performing in.
Basically, especially with the implication being, didn't we blow them off a stage? So
Yeah,
it's some kind of local battle of the bands type thing that they were in
yeah.
fact doing.
It's like these guys are awful. Why are they up there? But so Ian, Joe Montana comes back. He's on stage introducing the band, and he heads off stage where his boss is standing, Milo. This is Michael McKean.
Who's been in everything.
Yeah, he shows up a lot. He was in Friends as the Mocklet salesman. He was in Spinal Tap, which you never saw. He was in the Clue movie. I think he played Mr. Green
He was Topanga's dad in Boy Meets World
for an episode or two.
for an episode at the end of one season where his counterpart, or Topanga's mom, was played by Annette O'Toole.
Okay.
And after that, they started dating and eventually got married and are still married to this day.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the people that played Topanga's dad at some point was one of the monkeys.
Yeah, there were three Topanga's dads.
Yeah.
The
I
last one was Dr. Gablehauser in The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, we know a lot of random stuff.
We do. I'm going to go even further with, shoot, what was his name? Michael McKean.
Yeah,
And he's in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He is the cop that impounds the car.
interesting. Very cool.
But anyway,
Also, spoiler warning. We never do this at the beginning, but at some point I will say we're spoiling the movie because this is what we do. We talk about it from front to back, maybe comment, maybe don't. Usually comment and then get sidetracked. So Ian's boss, Milo, is like, hey, come on, you got to punch it up, sell it, get into it. But Ian isn't impressed with the band. He's like, and what's all this stuff we're giving away? There's like a bunch of hair products and random swag that doesn't fit with the rock theme sitting up there. But Ian's doing shots, not shots. He's mixing Pepto and beer.
gross.
He's got a bottle of Pepto and some beer. He's pouring it in the Pepto. He's drinking both at the same time. I was wondering what he was drinking. Like, what is that? It's like, oh, that's Pepto.
I must not have been paying attention because I just thought he was drinking two beers at the same time.
Nope. So the lead singer's up there. He thanks Ian for playing them on the radio, give them the chance, giving them the break they need. And Chaz is looking up there like that's what we need. And we cut to them in the van. It's the next day.
Yeah, genius. Chaz, he's like, that's what we need. We need to get played on the radio and put out a record. Like, no kidding.
Yeah. I mean, that
What
takes
a,
money. You just
what a concept. Hey, you know how you do that? You get a job. But I digress.
But the guys are in the van. They're headed to KPPX. Pip says it won't work. He knows a guy that wants some tickets. They went down there to pick him up, and they fed them through the door, not even letting them in the building. They said these places are locked up tight. And then Rex pulls out one of the water pistols and said, "Well, if anybody gives us guff, I'll just put one of these in their faces, and we'll get in."
Maybe a foreshadowing for later.
Maybe a foreshadowing. They pull up, and I don't know if something was cut from the movie at this point because they don't even go to the front door. They pull up and go straight to the side door.
Right. Well, I think they figure if no one's gonna let them in, that their best bet to sneak in is to go around back.
Like they decided not even to try the front door.
They're just gonna break in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they pull up to this door. It's got a little card reader on it. They're looking at it, and Rex tells Pip to give him his bank card because that's how these things work.
Yeah. I have in my notes. Not an ATM, dude. And then Pip, like he's like not gonna give him the code. Like
Yeah, they put the card in the machine. He's like, "Give me your code." He's like, "I'm not gonna give you a code." He's like, "Well, then put the code in." So he puts the code in, and the card reader keeps his card.
confiscated.
Yeah, confiscates the card. He's like, "It took my card." And Rex's like, back up, back up. I'll try something else." And he's like, "Get ready to open the door because I'm gonna short this thing out." And he takes a drink of the soda he has and spits the soda into the little the card reader area, and nothing happens. It just beeps. So Rex
Yeah.
and Chaz get the great idea to head up to the roof.
They're just full of great ideas. And Pip's gonna stand right in front of the door.
Yeah, he stays on the ground looking at the little key lock on the door, and the door opens, smacking him in the face. He falls back. Girl comes out who was coming to her smoke break. And she's like, "Oh shoot, sorry. Are you okay?" And Pip's holding his mouth. Is like, "Uh huh." And she runs back inside for a second, and then comes back with some ice. She's like, "Sorry, I was gonna smoke. Didn't mean to hit you." And then she gets called back inside. I think somebody yelled for her to get some passes for something, but she's like, "Sorry, have a good day," and heads back inside while Chaz is leaning over.
He's leaning over the roof and he's got
Yeah,
his
he's leaning over the
bag.
roof and drops the bag onto the door as it's starting to close, so it keeps it open.
Nice shot.
Very good shot. I mean, even if the door wasn't closing, it might have got in the doorway, so it didn't close all the way, but it caught on the door itself.
Yeah, I mean, if only someone was laying on the ground 2 feet from the door, they could have just stuck their foot in there.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like a Pip move.
They're one-dimensional characters.
You're saying there's not depth behind those characters?
Are are you are you saying there is?
I'm not saying there is.
And I'm not saying there's not. So the bag is over the door.
Yep, the bag is over the door, and we cut to a scene of Milo speaking with the accountant, Beach, who is played by Michael Richardson. Michael Richards.
Most famously known as Kramer or the janitor in the Weird Al movie. Not
Yes.
in UHF, not the biopic parody.
Right. Weird Al's movie UHF. And Milo's asking him, he's like, "Hey, I need you to come in tomorrow. We've got to lose some of the dead weight." Breach is talking about some medical issues he has. You need to go to the doctor. And Milo is just kind of pushing him a bit more. And Beach is like, "Well, when are you going to tell everybody?" Milo's like, "Oh, this is delicate. It takes time."
Implying that something's happening.
Implying something's happening. We don't get to know what, because the scene cuts at that point to the boys slipping in the door into Ian's booth. They've been moving through the radio station a little bit. Got to Ian's booth. He's on the air at the moment. They kind of wave as he notices them, and they say we're a band. And he's like, and of course, with how this character's already been portrayed, he mocks them. He's like, "Oh, of course, the Partridge Family. Which one of you is Lori?" And
Great joke.
and they just kind of smile and laugh.
Just because it's that funny. And they're also trying to play nice because they're trying to get airtime.
Exactly.
So they're gonna take a jab or two if that means they get
Yeah.
played.
He's like, okay, get it." And he's like, "Hey, come on, just hook us up. We just play our song like you did for the Sons of Thunder. We want to get out there so we can get signed and get our record going and just play music. Come on." At this point, Ian's just kind of looking at him, and he turns on the an extra mic he has, with probably for interviews, and spins it around so that they're talking into it, and starts interviewing the guys about how they got in. He's like, "So you're saying you broke into the record studio, you came in here to get your song played on the radio."
Right, because the story's that story's rock and roll
Yeah.
completely.
And then we cut out Milo's office where he's hearing the live feed, and he's not happy. So he leaves his office, presumably headed towards the booth, because we skip directly over to Kayla, who hears Chaz on the radio and kind of rolls her eyes.
You can tell she thinks she reconsiders something, and then she shakes her head like, no, no, no.
Yeah, shakes her head, rolls her eyes, and just continues on with her whatever she's doing throughout the day. Milo comes into the booth and tells Ian to get them off the air. Ian's like, "Hey, I got 6 minutes of talk time, an hour. What do you care what I do with it?" And Rex and Pip are like, "Come on, bro. Someone gave you a break at some point. Just hear us out." And he's like, "Yeah, come on, Chaz. Plead your case. Let them know why we should play your song." And Chaz is like, "Come on, man. My whole life force is in this demo. Give us a chance." That's his plea.
I've heard worse.
Yeah, you've heard better, but definitely heard worse than that. It was to the point. And Ian's like, "Come on, how can you say no to that?"
I can't tell if Ian's like openly mocking these dudes or part of him's like on
Ye
their side.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I think he's just messing with Milo. He doesn't like Milo. He likes that these guys kinda got in. It feels rock and roll. So he's like, "Come on, you can't say no to that. Give him a chance."
And the fact that they were like able to get in. I mean, he points out like, how did you get in here? This thing's locked up tight.
Yeah, it's tighter than a dolphin's blowhole.
Yeah, watertight.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, a part of him maybe wants to reward these guys for their just for getting in the door, getting there, for getting this far.
Yeah, but Milo's not having it. He moves over to grab Chaz by the shoulders, like, "You guys are getting out of here." And Rex steps up and says, "Try that with me." And Milo's like,
I mean, Steve Buscemi could play any one of those three characters. He could be Pip, he could be Chaz, or Rex.
"Yeah."
Steve Buscemi and his acting ability could be any of those three. Steve Buscemi is also the only one who could have played Rex believably. Brendan Fraser, as much as great an actor he is, don't see him in that role.
No,
Adam Sandler, absolutely not.
true.
Adam Sandler doesn't have that kind of crazy.
Right. Adam Sandler's crazy is a little more cuddly than Buscemi's crazy.
And and Brendan Fraser just doesn't have a crazy. He's too likable.
Yes.
And not to say Steve Buscemi is not likable. Let me just clear that up right now. Steve Buscemi is one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yes.
It's just he's oh gosh, I don't know a way to put if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, he's done a lot of different roles. He does intimidating. He does
Is it all?
great. Yeah. He does a little bit of everything.
Whereas Brendan Fraser's kind of America's sweetheart.
Yeah. He's American, right? Not Canadian.
You don't have to be American to be America's sweetheart.
Didn't I call Reba America's sweetheart in the Tremors episode?
Yeah, and I meant to call John Candy America's sweetheart also, and I forgot.
Also Canadian.
Well, he said also Canadian, but yes, Brendan Fraser is no, he was born in Indianapolis,
Nice.
but his citizenship is Canadian and United Statesian.
Okay. United Statesian.
I don't know.
So Rex steps up and says, "Hey, try that with me." And Milo's like, I'm not wasting my time with you, Boulevard Trash." And Rex is like, "Trash? You think I'm trash?" And he pulls out one of the water guns and puts it up to Milo. He's like, "Come on, Chaz, we're doing this." And Chaz pulls out the other water gun and starts going on about how rock and roll this is, how rock and roll he is, how Milo doesn't know anything about rock and roll or music, and how people like Jimmy Wing run the industry and know nothing about how rock and roll is. I mean, he goes on about how he's in the clubs, he's doing shows, he's doing shows where the only other people in the audience are the other bands and their girlfriends. He's putting it out there about how hard rock and roll and the industry before you get signed can be.
Yeah, now he's saying what he probably should have said when he first had the mic
Yes.
and wasn't armed.
Exactly. We cut to Jimmy Wing, kind of walking through the halls of his office, and one of the secretaries like, "They're talking about you on the radio," and he's sitting there listening to this as he gets called out for not knowing anything.
Yeah, he basically gets his whole reputation insulted
Yes,
live on the radio, and he's just like, "Uh-oh."
and he looks stunned. And we cut to we cut over to Beach, who's sitting in the kitchen eating his lunch, and he hears everything, and he's like, "Oh shoot!" And he kind of shimmies down to the floor and crawls into an office and gets on the phone and calls the cops and
Yes,
tells them what's going on. So now we have gone from a let's sneak in and get them to play our music to
multiple felonies.
we've got guns at you, play our music. And basically that's what Chaz says. He's like, "Hey, if you play our song, we'll leave and no one has to get hurt." Milo is still kind of like about playing the song, like he's not wanting to give in to threats. And Ian's like, "Come on, just tell him to play, just play the song. Let's play it." And Milo's like, "Okay, play the song. You guys can go." So they hand him the demo tape, and it's a reel to reel. And they're like, "We can't play this here. We're only set up for CDs and tapes." And Pip's like, "I told you we should have brought the tape." And Chaz is like, "I don't like the way the tape sounds. My backup vocals don't sound right. It sounds like someone stepping on me, and it feels it. I don't like it." Rex is like, "Mr. Perfectionist over here. Now we don't have anything to play." It looked like he had something to say.
Not really.
Okay.
No. No, it was just kind of like I'm remembering the scene and just like, yeah, that just well, because I know like you don't have a cassette tape. Oh, it costs more money for a cassette tape. Like, oh, like you're gonna cheap out over your record over your demo tape.
But I mean, Pip says they should have brought a cassette tape, so there might be one. But anyway, so anyways, like, well, Chaz is like, "This is a radio station. There's got to be a reel to reel somewhere. Go find it." So Pip, Milo, and Rex head out to find the reel to reel. So they head over to the engineering room. Probably is what I'm assuming. 'Cause it has a lot of the equipment. That's where the reel to reel will be. They walk in and find Marcus playing guitar. Marcus is played by the great Reg E. Cathy. So he was in the most recent Fantastic Four movie as Dr. Richards. He was in The Mask, Funny Farm. He's been in a lot of different things. American Psycho. He was actually in What About Bob as a character named Howie, whom I'm assuming was at the mental institution. I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find it.
That's what I was thinking because there was a guy that kind of looked like him at the mental institution when he was telling jokes.
But that's Reg.
Okay. And he's not happy to see them.
No, he's playing his guitar. His groove has got messed up. He's like, "Come on, Milo, how many times do I have to tell you to knock before you come in here?" But he's just like giving them all attitude until Rex kind of steps to the side and he's like, "Oh, there's a gun." So he's like, "Hey, get that reel to reel. Let's get this set up." We take a quick break from that scene to see Beach again, army crawling across the floor into some of the cubicles. Then we're back with Marcus working on the reel to reel while Pip is trying to be nice to him and relate to him.
Yeah, no, Pip is all kinds of polite.
Yes.
I feel for Pip.
Yeah.
He has his own business. He's just a nice kid who wants to play drums in a band, but probably realizes they're not going to make it, and now he's stuck in this situation.
Yeah.
Just drug along.
Well, Marcus tells Pip to back up. He's not having any of it, and he tells Rex that the second he puts that gun down, he's going to beat the stuffing out of him. We see them leaving the room briefly in the background as Beach ends up in a closet. It's like a maintenance closet. Little container of varnish kind of spills, goes on his suit and wipes it off. He has a little lighter. He's looking to see what it is. He's like, "Oh, flammable." Puts it out and realizes that's a bad idea. We're back in the booth now, and Milo is like, "You can't smoke in here." Who's talking to Rex, who's got the gun at him and a cigarette in his mouth. He's like, "Oh yeah, what am I doing right now?" He's the most antagonistic of them.
He, yeah, he's definitely if anarchy were a person.
Yes, yes. But Ian steps in and say, "Hey, the smoke could damage the equipment. Put it out." Hands him an ashtray, and he puts the cigarette away. While Pip's getting the reel to reel set up, and Chaz is like telling Ian to give us a good intro.
Don't mention the gun to your head.
Don't mention the good day ahead. Just sell us up. He's like, well, what's the band name? It's like it's on the it's on the demo. And this is the first time we've heard the band's name. We haven't heard it sent first at all in the movie. And he looks at it and he's like, the Lone Rangers. That
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
I thought it was gonna be Airheads.
That I mean, it would have made our quota of saying the movie's name in the movie, which I don't think the name Airheads is said in the movie.
It's not.
And I don't think the name Airheads represents the movie well as to what it is.
No, if you told me, yeah, when you said we're gonna watch Airheads, I was like, I have literally no idea what this movie's going to be about.
That's fantastic. So he complains a little bit more about the Lone Rangers. He's like, you can't pluralize Lone Rangers. Wouldn't it be the Three Rangers? Like, no, that's stupid. It's the Lone Rangers. Say the intro. So he intros them. They start playing the song on the reel to reel. It plays for about 3 seconds before it starts to speed up, and the tape starts spinning off the reel, and it all kind of lands in the ashtray where he had just put out the cigarette, and it catches fire.
And I gotta say that's a pretty good setup of props
Yeah,
because they could have had it spin so fast that oh it just happened to catch on fire, but like they started the scene with Steve Buscemi's character smoking a cigarette and just doing whatever, and then it came to Ian suggests, yeah, you should probably put that out because we could damage things. We don't want to do that. And so he, out of respect for Ian, puts it out. Ian then takes the ashtray with the cigarette that was kind of half-heartedly put out and
right.
sets it in the general vicinity on the table, nonchalantly, not really thinking about where he's putting it. And then the reel spins into that and catches fire. I mean, to think about the chain of events that this goes through to get there, that took thought more than just like a gag to be a gag.
E-
Like at least the gag was thought out and like you can trace each step from beginning to end of how we
Right.
got there.
Exactly. So the boys kind of look at each other as their tape burns, and Rex yells,
Because that's pretty much all you got left to do.
yeah. So they hoof it. They run to the back door where they came in at, and they open the door, and there's a cop car sitting out there. So they go back in, and then they send out Pip. Well, you can get away. Here, go. And
Is that what they were doing? Was sending Pip out so he could
yeah,
be
he can
not?
be a distraction.
Oh, so he could be a distraction.
So they send Pip out. The cop's out there looking at him, and they're squared up. They're looking at each other. Pip takes a couple steps. The cop takes a couple steps. They move forward a little bit. The cop moves forward. He moves back a little bit. The cop moves back. He does this Adam Sandler move, robot move.
First of all, I loved this bit. This bit was fantastic. I thought it was like Adam Sandler. I'm not gonna say at his finest, but it was classic Sandler. But the whole bit from door to crazy robot dance, it was good comedy.
Yeah.
It was very good comedy, and I think Adam Sandler, the way Adam Sandler played that, I think is the only character that would have worked in that situation.
Yeah.
It had to have been the way it had to have been Adam Sandler's character or the character of Pip, and so
The cop is Officer Samuels, and he is played by Sandler's friend Alan Covert, who has been in almost all of Sandler's movies.
he was the best friend in The Wedding Singer, right?
Yeah, he was in Grandma's Boy. He was the 10-second Steve from 50 First Dates, where his memory was.
10-second Tom. Come
That's
on
it.
now.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
10-second Tom. It rhymes.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It's the alliteration, like Peter Parker, 10-second Tom.
Yeah. He could have been written by Stan Lee. I don't know.
But Officer Samuels goes for his gun, and Pips runs back to the door.
Yeah, I like how quick it ended too.
He goes for the gun, but Pip's like, "Nope, I'm out." So from there, they run to another door, and see cop cars at all of them, and find out they're surrounded, basically. Oh yes, I'm like, what did I write? I can't read my writing.
Problem I run into also.
Reading my writing?
No, reading my own writing, and Rachel's like, "Why don't you just type it in the notepad on your phone?" And I'm like, "That's way too easy and convenient."
Oh, we can do talk to text, so I can just say blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So they realize they're surrounded, and they kind of hear something behind them, and turn and realize there's more people in the building. There's a receptionist there playing a Game Gear.
She is. That's what that. I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, so they decide that they need to round up everybody and get them all situated in one spot. And we cut back to Jimmy Wing for a moment, and he's thinking. He's sitting at his table. He's like, okay, this is a media bomb. These guys have hijacked the station because they've been on air the whole time they were talking and trying to get their demo played. He's like, even if the song's in English, is going to be a hit just because of the media that's already led up to this.
Yeah, if it's in English, it's gonna go gold. It's at least gold or something like that.
Yeah. So he's sitting there thinking. We go back to the boys collecting everybody else that's in the building. They get Yvonne, the receptionist at the beginning, who's playing the Game Gear, and she's played by Michelle Hurst. I'm not sure what else she's been in.
The name sounded familiar to me for a second. That's why I
Okay.
was kind of waiting.
But she's the receptionist. We move over to the stoner surfer, Carter, who's played by David Arquette.
I never
Um,
caught his name. Carter.
Yeah, Carter. And this character is high out of his mind this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Rex comes up behind him, kind of grabs him around the neck and drags him out in his wheelchair. He's like, "What's going on?"
yeah. He's just kind of like, whoa. Okay, here we go.
And then they find Susie, the girl from earlier who was going out for the smoke break, and she's played by Nina Samesco. Samesco?
Works for me.
Yeah, she's the girl from earlier. And so they're rounding everybody up. They're pulling Milo and Ian out of the booth. They're all going to go to the conference center. Carter's like, "Hey, if you're going to have to start killing people, take out Milo first. He's the worst."
No, that's not bad advice.
I guess if you're in that situation, volunteer somebody for you.
But you volunteer the guy that nobody else seems to like.
True. And then Rex thinks he hears something, so he opens the closet door that Beach had been in. He's not there anymore, and Rex goes to the closet. You see Beach's feet go up into the air vent.
Yes, they do.
He starts crawling around the air vent, gets his lighter out, and starts pulling a Die Hard situation.
Hmm.
And then he's not paying too much of attention and stumbles down a vent that's going down and accidentally lights the arm on fire where he loses his lighter, but he pulls his arm back up, kind of puts himself out, and then we move on to everybody in the conference room.
Oh no, we're not moving on. We are going to talk about the air vents.
We're going to talk about the air vents.
We're going to talk about the air vents because
Oh, because you
I was a ventilation cleaner
were a ventilation cleaner.
for about a decade, and I was always the smallest guy on the crew.
Really?
Oh
You're
yeah,
like 6 foot.
5'10", 5'11", between 5'10" and 5'11". But I didn't start filling out until my 30s.
So you're saying you were wiry.
I was very wired, gangly, I prefer. But no, all throughout my early 20s, all the way to about close to 30, I maybe 125 or 150 pounds. I was somewhere between 130 and 100, maybe 155 towards the end of my stay at that company.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I was always just this skinny little thing, and so I was always the one that had to. And I was young. I was a kid, so I was the one that would get shoved in the ductwork to basically crawl it and vacuum the dust out of it. So problem number one, I'm gonna say, is that ductwork is way too clean.
Okay.
It's never that clean. Even if you clean it, it's never that clean. Number two, that that so he climbed up clearly through a supply line,
Yeah.
which second of all, in any janitor closet, there's no way they're gonna have a supply line that is big enough for a grown man to crawl into. You're not going to want to use that much of your pumping that much heat or cooling into a supply closet that's just going to be naturally heated by existing and being surrounded and insulated. And then three, most of the time when your insulation is interior when your ductwork is interior like that, you're not insulating it on the outside.
Okay.
So either A, you're going to have sound lining in there, which is horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. It's imagine just crawling through fiberglass insulation because that's what it is.
Okay.
And if it's not there, then that's all just exposed metal. And you're going to hear every single clang and clump and thump.
Welcome to movie magic.
Yeah. So like I always pick apart every ductwork sink. Like that is, and it's all jealousy.
Yeah, because they're
'Cause
not crawling through tiny little holes and
I wish once I would have climbed through ductwork that was that nice. I mean, I think a few times I did get that lucky, but it was just like, whew. You see it and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's never like that. And then as we get further into his ductwork crawling career, I'll come up with more things wrong with it.
okay.
Now we're in the conference room.
Oh yeah, so we're in the conference room and he's telling everybody sit on the floor, and Susie's like, "Well, can I sit in the chair? I don't want to get all crummy from the floor." And Milo's like, "Well, if she's sitting in the chair, I want to sit in the chair." They yell at Milo and said, "Everybody gets a chair, but you. You have to sit on the ground."
I loved that joke. I thought that was great. That's just, it makes it's so clear that these guys are not criminals in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Everybody gets a
And
chair, but that guy.
they might not even be adults.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, Chaz is like, "Wait a minute, are we still in the air?" And Ian kind of nods to the sign that says this big somewhat sign that says, "Hey, we're still in the air." At this point, we go outside, and the cop from earlier, Samuels, is being joined by two other cops that pull up. Officer Wilson, who is played by Chris Farley, Officer O'Malley, who is played by Ernie Hudson. And between the 6 episodes that we've done with this one, he is our third Ghostbuster because we've had Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, now Ernie Hudson. So O'Malley is talking with Samuels and saying, "Hey, secure the perimeter, make sure everything's going on, see if we can call inside and see what's going on. I want to get some information." He's like, "Hey, you got that, Wilson?" He's like, "Yep, I know procedures, sir." It sounds like Wilson is a newer officer that O'Malley's taken under his wing to show the ropes.
Yep. And then this is where I want to talk about Chris Farley coming up because we see in a lot of Chris Farley's movies, Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, Almost Heroes, Beverly Hills Ninja, as well as his appearance in Billy Madison. We kind of get this same character of him where he's just the butt of every joke. He's lazy, he's stupid, no one takes him seriously. I thought it was nice to see him in a role where he's the exact opposite of that. He's not really played for laughs. He's an officer in training. He's taking his job very seriously. It seems like he's good at it and wants to be good at it. And
Yeah,
so I like that he gets to be a different character than I've seen him in.
that is a good call out there.
Thank you.
So at this point, we're back inside. Carter's like, "Hey, I'm hungry. I want to get some food. Can we get some food?" Pip's like, Maybe," and they all kind of start looking at Chaz, who's kind of chewing on his thumb. He's thinking he's not really sure what's going on at the moment. He's starting to piece together with the exact situation that they're in at the moment.
It's starting to come to him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and then the phone starts ringing, and Ian picks it up, and it's like, oh, it's the cops. It's like, "I've got three lunatics in here with semi-automatic weapons pointed at me. How do you think I'm feeling?" Because we don't hear the other side of the conversation.
Right. I wonder if that was just Joe Montana kind of I just ad-libbing him and then being like, "You're on the phone with the cops. What are you gonna say?" And he's just like, "Here we go." I mean, he's a seasoned actor.
But the cops are asking what their demands are, if they have any, and like they want to talk to the leader, and Chaz doesn't want to talk to anybody. So he's like, okay, okay. Ian hangs up the phone. He's like, they want to talk to you outside. And Chaz is still just kind of unsure what to do. And Ian's like, want to go talk in the hall really quick? And Chaz and Ian go out in the hall to talk. Still in the boardroom, Susie is saying she likes Pip's hair.
He's got a buzz cut.
She still says she likes his hair. We find out that she answers the phones for the radio station, and he thinks that's cool. And they're just continuing their early flirting a little bit more. So Ian in the hallway breaks it down for Chaz that they broke in here to get their music put on the air. Their demo is broken. They've now got hostages. They're holding people at gunpoint. The place is surrounded. What do you want to do? What's the next thing to do? And Chaz is like, we need to get the other demo tape, the one that Kayla has.
The cassette tape.
The cassette tape, yes. Which, if they thought to bring it before, they might not have got it because Kayla had it.
The cassette tape. Why
Yes.
does she get the cassette tape and he's trying to pitch the reel to reel?
So she can listen to it in the car. Because we cut to her listening to it in the car. She pulls it out of the player, looks at it, and then chucks it out the car. It's a convertible, so she just kind of tosses it over her shoulder.
Going back to the situation with Ian and Chaz talking.
Yes.
The way Ian is handling this and has been handling this almost makes me think this is not the first time this has happened to Ian.
He does feel pretty calm and collected with this, and maybe that's how Sons of Thunder got on the on the radio.
Maybe. Milo didn't come in and ruin that one.
Exactly, he was out that day. So yeah, she chucks the tape. We cut back to the outside of the radio station, and a crowd of rockers has started kind of showing up to the radio station.
Right, because they've been on the air for this amount of time.
Right, they've been on the air for a few hours at this point. They know there's people with guns. They know they're getting held at gunpoint. They just want to play their demo. They just want their song heard. And O'Malley is talking to Wilson about crowd control. He's like, if anybody acts up, throw them in the back of the car. Wilson's like, well, we can't really do that. He's like, well, in situations like this, you got to improvise. Sometimes you don't break the rules, but you got to bend them.
Right, right. He's kind of just explaining to the kid the difference between what the book says and what you have to do when you're in the heat of it sometimes.
Right.
Where the line is and where the line can be moved a little bit. But he's making sure that like you make sure you don't break the law or don't do anything that's absolutely wrong, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And that's it. At this point, Chaz comes out to talk to the cops, and he gives Pip his gun and says, "Hey, cover me," which I guess just means show that I have a show that you have a gun and then you got his back. Because
You, it's hot sauce.
yeah,
We know what it is, but at
exactly.
the same time, you can't let on that it's not a real gun and that you're not really armed.
And Chaz comes out, and immediately 6 cops point their gun at him and tell him to get on the ground. And at this point, Wilson's like, sir? And O'Malley looks over and he's like, oh, shoot. Runs over. He's like, put your guns away. Put your guns away. Back up. Get out of here. He's like, reaches out to shake Chaz's hand. I'm sorry about that. What can we do for you? And Chaz is like, what was that? You told me to come in and talk to you. He's like, I'm sorry. we, we got off on the wrong foot.
That whole just wow.
He doesn't want to rub the people inside the wrong way. Sure, they might get their guy, but they might start shooting hostages if that happens. So
That's
he's gotta play it cool, right? Right?
right, right. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you caught me off guard is all." But it's like your cops aren't trained better than that. Like your cops don't are that oblivious to the situation that they're just gonna
I,
like the guy's gonna come out to talk and you're just gonna like not all three of them surrendered and there's a dude back there with a gun.
they do what they need to do for the movie,
Right, as all movies do.
like air vents or elevators still closing after somebody passes the sensor. Do you have something to say at this point?
I do
I've been
not.
talking a lot.
I just finished my tangent about the police officers. Go ahead.
Okay, so O'Malley's like, Chaz, what is it that you want? And Chaz's like, I just want to play my demo on the radio. You've got to find Kayla. She's my girlfriend. She's got the tape. She's probably somewhere on the strip. She's gonna kill me, but here's the picture of what she looks like, which is her in this tiny little bikini, because that's the only picture he has of her. But it says you need to find her. You can't call her. We already tried that, so you got to go how to get her. And back inside, Pip is asking Yvonne why black people don't like him for, for some reason. He tries to relate. She's like, "None of that happens to me. Does it happen to you?"
Yeah, he's basically he's trying too hard and everything he says is making it worse.
Exactly. At this point, we go back to O'Malley. He says it'll take some time to find her, but we want a good faith gesture. Release one of the hostages. He goes in, says they're gonna get Kayla so we can get the demo. We need to release somebody. And Pip volunteers. He's like, "I'll go."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, we need to release one of the hostages." Which Pip also speaks up again and says, "How about we let Yvonne go?
Yeah, she
Because she's
seems
nice."
nice.
And Milo's like, "Well, that doesn't seem fair. Why don't we draw straws or something?"
Right.
Chaz just looks at him like, "You know what? You're right. Yes, Yvonne can go.
Get your stuff and go.
Get your stuff and get out. You'll be home before The Simpsons is on."
Yeah.
And Carter, the stoner surfer, is like, "Don't send me out there. This is too much fun, man." So he's enjoying it, but yeah, they let Yvonne go, and Wilson at this point is also tasked with going with the squad to the strip to find Kayla. Beach is still in the venting system, and he comes across a cross section where a fan kicks on and starts blowing him around like a rag doll. That's the only thing that happens in that scene. He just more of what he's dealing with. So Yvonne is released. Rex takes her to the front door, opens the door, and lets her out. And then he comes out,
Starts dancing.
starts dancing, starts flipping off everybody, flexing, just kind of playing up for the crowd. He's getting cheers, and he comes back inside, all pumped up and psyched. He's like, and he's telling Pip he's got to be more tough, that he can't be friendly with the people because at some point they're gonna have to yell at somebody. He's like, "But what about me, Pip? We're a friendship. You can't have those friends in this type of situation." And Pip's like, "Well, I feel kind of silly being mean with a fake gun." Like, well, they don't know it's fake.
Right. Pip's getting a lesson in hostaging.
Yep. Yep. So Rex is kind of showing him what to do. You got to be mean. You got to be nasty and yell at them. Tell them to get on the ground. And Beach overhears all this, and he looks shocked. He's like, "Oh no, they're getting yelled at. They're getting told to get on the ground." And Pip's doing what he does, and he's still got that timid Sandler voice. He hasn't gone to the crazy Happy Gilmore yelling voice yet. He gets there. He gets there to a point. It's not really threatening, but it's better than he was doing, and Rex seems okay with that.
Yeah. Good. It's good enough.
Yeah, and at this point, SWAT shows up.
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah, the SWAT captain is Carl. He's played by Marshall Bell, and he tries to take over. He tries telling O'Malley this is his show now. He needs to step back. He can go about and do his cop things. SWAT's here. SWAT's got this. And O'Malley's like, "There's no situation here. We're negotiating. Things are going okay. You do not need to go in. I'm handling it." And Carl doesn't like that, but he kind of shrugs and goes back about his business. At this point, the media shows up
Yes.
too. And Carl's kind of like, "Well, I guess I don't have to deal with that. Hey, O'Malley, look." And O'Malley goes over to yell at the press, which at this point, a call comes in for Breach, who has managed to find a phone. It's a landline, so it's on a cord. He's up in the vent, hanging out of the vent on the phone, telling him the. so, so when Carl answers the phone, he's yelling at the guy. He's like, I'm gonna get in there. We're gonna take you out." And he's like, "No, no, I don't have much time." And he realizes it's somebody in the building, not one of the kidnappers. So upon realizing that Beach is just a guy in there, Carl's like, "You know what? I want you to be my inside man. I'm going to give you another number to call, so you don't have to call this number again." So basically, calling directly to Carl, so
Yes.
he knows what's going on inside. He's like, "Do you have any kind of training?" Carl's not really listening to him, but Beach says he was part of the merger Marines, and all he
Oh, the
hears was,
Marines. Great.
"Yep." All he hears is Marines. He's like, "That's great." He's like, "Well, I was an accountant." He's like, "No, no, you won't be held accountable."
Which I thought was great.
He's not really listening, but
Just that's exactly what you want.
yep, he tells him to call back every so often, keep him informed, and we cut back inside.
Yeah. But so Kramer,
Yes,
Beach.
Kramer.
He somehow jumped down from, first of all, he's coming out of what looks like a return grill, not a supply grill. So, but in the previous scene, he got blown by air, confirming that yes, he is indeed in the supply side of the unit.
Yes.
And now he's coming out of a grill that appears to be a return register, because in a commercial area, you would not have a square grill like that to supply the room in that location in the center, because you have your supply on the outside, you have your return in the middle where he was, to bring so the air goes from the out in and it spreads through the room. And you cannot get from the supply side to the return side without going through the unit. However, in my tangent, I now feel stupid because he had gotten down to get the phone. So he may have jumped out of the supply side, grabbed the phone by the nearest desk, jumped up into the return grill.
Okay, so he may have jumped down from where he was and crawled up into another one because it was closer to the phone and it was another area he hadn't been at.
Yes.
Okay.
But he would still need to take all the screws out. So on those ones, because those ones are screwed in. So the fact that he got that off, either from the inside or the outside, is a miracle.
True. You know what? It's a movie, and movie events are just like movie cops. They do what they need to for the movie. Rex starts rifling through a bunch of CDs, telling Ian what to play, and he gets the idea is like, hey, they got a lot of music here, a lot of stuff. We should start looting this place. So
Because why not?
exactly. So Rex, Pip, and Susie head out and start looting the the radio station. Jazz is getting on air, talking about just kind of, hey, let's get some people calling. Let's hear from what's going on outside. And people are calling in. Actually, you know what?
Did you miss the montage?
I guess yeah, I guess I missed the montage. I missed describing the montage. I said they did it. They
There's a
loot the
montage while they're doing it.
Yes, so they loot the place. You see them going through stuff, finding a bunch of passes, finding a bunch of stickers and shirts and a little bit of everything. They get back to the booth and start handing out the stuff. Pip's like, "Can I have this shirt?" Like, "Hey, we have a bunch of passes," which is when Chaz gets on the radio and starts trying to hand out the passes. Like, "Call in, we're gonna hand out a bunch of these passes, but you gotta come down and get them because we're surrounded by cops." We got one guy calling in who's asking about a show about some bands from Seattle. I wasn't able to pick up the name of the bands, and I did not go back to check. But Chaz gives them a hard time about Seattle music.
Yes, he does. He bashes on Seattle pretty good.
Yep. And then the next call is Beavis and Butthead.
And that is Mike Judge doing the voice of both.
Yep, it is. He calls up. They they make fun of him. They they say they saw him at the wheel well a few weeks ago, and that they sucked.
And isn't that the where they beat?
That's probably where they beat the Sons of Thunder at that show,
Yeah,
or unless Beavis and Butthead saw them at another show. But I think it's great that they called in and used that. It's
they're just laying heavily into into everything '90s, like
exactly.
everything that was popular in the '90s.
Yeah. At this point, Susie comes in, tells them they're on TV. The newscaster's not giving them much credit or not saying it's a big situation. It seems like basically calls their case stupid. That the only ones that will care what they're doing is the MTV idiots. So they don't look all too pleased about that. But we cut over to Beach trying to get another phone because the other one landline it was connected, but he's leaning out of a vent looking down at a wireless cordless phone, not a cell phone. This is the 90s. This is a cordless phone, one that has to go on a charger.
One that has to be in a general proximity of the hub receiver.
Exactly. And he falls out of the vent.
Because of course he does.
Exactly. But he's able to call Carl back and tell him that there's 6 hostages and 3 weirdos with Uzis holding everybody at gunpoint. Carl tells him to be safe and asks if there's anybody he can reach out to tell that he's okay, a family back home. And Beach is like, no, it was just me. I was always kind of waiting around for the right person at the right time. And Carl's like, well, let me tell you about the shrew I married. Maybe I should have waited a little longer.
Yeah, and he's basically just looking for someone like to vent to.
Ex- Oh man, yeah. Yep, he's the one that Carl's venting to. We cut back to Pippin.
You're welcome.
I like but we cut back to Pip and Susie, and they're just kinda flirting and doing their thing, and Ian is standing next to Chaz, and he's marveling at Pip, and is like, how does he do it? Does the really the "I'm so stupid, I'm cute" act work?
Oh, he's cleaning up with it.
Yeah, that's what Chaz says, like, he gets the most ladies out of any of us. He's just got that cute idiot charisma going on.
Venting still.
Yes, yes. But Rex is standing there next to him, going through a bunch of the music, and is like, "Why aren't you guys playing any of this good music? There's some great music in here." And Milo's like, "Well, this great music you like is not burning up the charts." It's like, "Well, maybe it's not burning up the charts because you never play any of it." Another one
A
of those,
good point.
yeah, one of those points about just if people heard some music, other things might be more popular than what is decided as popular from execs.
Right. You get the people that don't care about the music, telling us what good music is.
Exactly.
Kind of the point.
Chaz and Ian are having to talk about rock and roll and music, and Ian thinks that rock and roll's been on a downhill trend since Lennon died because modern music doesn't have anything to say. And Chaz is like, "What do you mean it doesn't have anything to say? And you can't tell me that Purple Haze has something to say?" We find out that Ian is a classic rock guy, 70s, maybe early 80s, more of the definitely Beatles, Hendrix, things like that.
Yeah, he's definitely the older generation of rock and roll.
Exactly. And then Rex sacks a pipe and he's like, "Hey, you gotta wait till you hear our stuff. We rock." And Milo's just like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear your stuff." And Rex is like, "What do you mean? You don't know anything about good music. You got a box of Kenny G and easy listening in your office." And Milo's like, "You- What do you mean you got that in your office? You don't even listen to music, Milo. What's going on here?" I was like, "Oh, those are promos and stocking stuffers. I give them away at Christmas." He's like, "It's July." Rex starts putting other music on the air that's generally not played on the air, and we get a glimpse of kind of what the tape has been through. It's been kicked around a couple times. It's now in the middle of the road with a car on hydraulics. It's bouncing, about to land on it.
Basically, anything bad that could happen to this tape is either happened, about to happen, or already happened.
Yes, it is. It's not in a great spot right now. Ian's off looking at the box on Milo's desk, and it's a bunch of easy listening music. Kenny G, like he said, he's rifling through it. At the flips the box over and finds a bunch of stickers for KPPX, The Rain, a couple shirts as well. Out on the strip with Wilson, he has showed up at a club where White Zombie's playing and kind of wanders in. He shows his badge. They let him in. They don't hassle him at all. But he kind of gets hassled as he's going through the floor and gets pushed into a mosh pit.
Going back,
Going back. Oh, you have something to say?
yes,
Okay.
he is walking up to the club, right?
Yeah.
And he's like a blonde wearing something black and tight. And he's walking past all these girls that fit that description. And he says a line that he said in many movies in different, with different emphases. He says, great, grand, wonderful, which is like, when you think of Chris Farley, that's a line that you're like, and it's mainly, I think, Billy Madison that he says it in.
Where he's the bus driver?
Yeah. Is everyone on the bus? Great, grand, wonderful.
Okay.
I recognize the line from a different movie. Sorry. So
No,
White
no,
Zombie's
sorry.
playing.
Yeah, White Zombie's playing. He gets pushed into a mosh pit and kind of bounced around. And we come back to Ian, who is questioning Milo about all the Rain merch. He's like, "What is this?" He's like, "It looks like a shirt." I'm like, "No, what is this?" KPPX, the Rain, the sound of smooth listening. And he tells them that yes, that Rebel Radio will be changing over to the Rain. It is having a format changed at midnight on Sunday. It is going soft.
Yeah, they're going easy listening.
Yep. Easy listening. And they are going to be changing out the staff. Coming down from higher up, it says we're going easy, changing out the staff. And Milo gets threatened by Ian a few times, and then they just let Ian attack Milo.
Yeah, they all, yeah.
Yeah. Rex yells fight, and they all come out to watch as Ian puts Milo on the ground and jumps on his back.
But that, I mean, that's been a classic bit for decades. The whole fight, fight, fight kind of thing. Yeah, and everyone comes around to watch, and it's almost always one guy who wants to fight and one guy who really doesn't.
Yes. Yes, it is. So while Ian beats Milo into the ground, we're back with Wilson at the bar, and he finds Kayla. He's like, "Oh, great!" He's looking at the picture, looking at her. He's like, "I'm here about Chaz," and she doesn't want to hear any of it, but he's persistent and kind of gets the point across. And she's kind of listening, and we zoom out a little bit to three or four guys in the bar. They're looking up there, like, "Hey, that cop is hassling that girl."
He says, hey, check out Barney Fife.
Yes, they check out Barney Fife. He's hassling that girl, and Kayla gets the point and heads out. And Wilson's on his way out, a little leisurely, and the guys approach him like, "Hey, don't you think you're a little out of your league there?" And he's like, "Okay, guys, step out of the way. I don't want to have to take you in for obstruction." And the guy rips his badge off and bites it and bends it in half and crumples it up and hands it back to him. He's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And Wilson reaches over, hooks his finger through his nipple ring, and pulls it out. It
It's
says
so good.
it says improvise. And the guy drops to the floor and his friends tend to him.
Yeah, great, great acting by Chris Farley, and the fact that like I didn't really recall this, and now I only really had one kind of image of Chris Farley and his whole acting career, and now
Yeah.
getting to see him in another completely different character, it makes me curious to see what he would have done.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, I was always kind of curious as to what his career was going to look like. He was just getting started. But we're not talking about Chris Farley now because we did an episode of
Yep.
Chris Farley.
We're back to Carl now. He's
Hmm.
still talking with Beach, and he's talking about his ex-wife and how she said it didn't mean anything. He was only a pool cleaner. That she left him for a pool cleaner. And when I when I heard that, I'm like, huh, Pip's a pool cleaner. It gets a lot of ladies.
That I the second time I watched it, I was like, "Oh, Pip's a pool cleaner." When he sees the pool cleaning van, he probably got really mad that his wife left her a pool cleaner, and he got triggered by that. You're implying that it was Pip. I didn't get there.
But Kayla's driving in her car. She gets to the point where she chucked the tape out of the window, stops her car mid traffic, gets out, sees a dog peeing on the tape, kind of shoos the dog away, grabs the tape, and runs back to her car. No gloves, nothing, just grabs the tape.
Right. Well, while she's driving, she hears what is it? Chaz over the radio, who's
Yeah,
like, "I need the tape. Get it. They're gonna
yeah,
play us on the radio."
exactly. They have now tied Milo to a chair.
Surprised it took this long.
Yeah, but he's tied to a chair. He's in the booth, and Rex, Pip, and Susie are making a list of demands to keep the cops busy.
Well, not only that, they're making ridiculous demands so that they can plead insanity later.
Yes, and that was Pip's idea.
Pip's the brains.
Pip is the brains. But they ask for a lot of things: a football helmet full of cottage cheese, very fancy instruments, a naked picture of B. Arthur, a
No,
giant
multiple of those.
yes, a giant baby bottle. Those are just a few of the things off it, but it's a large, ridiculous list that they give to Chaz, who's reading it over to O'Malley. And just as he's finishing up, Rex grabs the phone and tells them that he wants a record contract to get an exec down here, which doesn't make Chaz happy. It upsets him. He's like, no. He's like, no, our contract needs to be unsolicited. We want to get by on our music, not because it's a demand we make.
He's past that point.
Chaz isn't.
He is. He just doesn't know it.
He's just trying to get his music played. That's what he wants. He wants to get his music played. He wants people to hear it so he can get the record deal.
Right. However, he wants to do it nobly. However, he only reason he's getting played on the radio is because he's holding the entire radio station hostage right now.
Exactly. But
His line in the sand, I'm not buying it.
he's saying, just get us played. And once people hear us, that'll take us to where we need to go. He thinks they're that good that they just need to get heard. They just need that airplay.
Okay.
But that's where Chaz is at. And Rex is like, well, uh.
And Rex is just like, I want the record contract. I don't care how we get it.
Exactly. We cut to Pip and Susie, who are alone in Milo's office, continuing their flirting, and it quickly turns into them starting to get busy. Where on Milo's couch, and behind Milo's couch is a glass top table that butts up against the wall, and underneath that table is a vent to the air system, where we see Beach has crawled out, and he's listening to them on the couch.
That's awful.
It is, but Beach is currently not in the air system. He is behind this couch. He's looking for another place to get to.
No, he's stuck there for a while though.
At this point, out in the SWAT van, Carl is getting some information on Chaz. He doesn't have any priors, no record, but he finds out his real name is Chester.
Yes, like that's yeah.
And that is apparently to Carl a big revelation.
Yeah, and I wrote down like I find it extremely ironic that oh his name is Chester, and then fast forward 10 years and Chester Bennington of Linkin Park would go on to be one of the greatest rock and roll vocalists to ever live and one of the most beloved.
Yes, that came up. I'm like Linkin Park wasn't a thing yet because it's '94. I looked it up, and they didn't even start not as Linkin Park.
They were Hybrid Theory first.
Yeah, they were Hybrid Theory, and then they had another band before that that I think they formed in '96. But even then they weren't as big as the dorky name Chester.
It doesn't.
Right, and that I mean that was I guess, a big trope of the '90s and stuff. Like, oh, you were a dork, or you are a dork. You have a dorky name.
But it's just it's funny, and I find it. I think this is what I find ironic is the name Chester is a great name, a name of the one of the greatest rock and roll, like I said, one of the greatest rock and roll vocalists that ever lived, one of the most beloved vocalists, songwriters
Uh-huh.
ever, and so that name is associated with someone great and beloved and all that, and the name Chaz is made fun of all the time now as a person that not a lot of people like, and you don't want to be like a Chaz or a Chad.
Yeah,
So it's kind of it was interesting, like the way like in just 30 years it's switched. I mean, and sooner than that though,
yeah,
because really, I mean that switched when we were installed when I was still in high school, I think, which was 10 years later.
yeah. We take a brief break from Carl and find out Milo is on the phone. He had knocked it off the receiver from his chair, dialed a number. He's been selling ads for radio time while this is going on. Uh, to, to which Chaz is not too happy about, hangs up the phone, and they kind of move him to where everybody else is again. Carl has Pip's van towed at this point, where he finds out that he's a pool cleaner, and he gets a look in his eye. He's like, "Give me the phone." He calls Beach. He's like, "I got a plan. I need you to make your way to the roof. I'm going to get you a gun."
Right. And this is the part of where I'm like, so when he found out that there's just a bunch of pool cleaning supplies, and he's like, pool cleaning? And I'm like, oh, like Steve Martin with Cleaning Woman in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, where it just sends him into a violent rage
Yeah.
for just because it triggers him like that. I didn't even piece together that like maybe Pip was the one.
Right, right. I mean, regardless of whether Pip was the one or not, the pool clean stuff would have pushed him over the edge, but it was probably Pip. Based on this movie, it would be Pip.
Yeah. Yeah, based on this movie it would be.
So yeah, the plan is to get Beach a gun, and we cut back inside where they're just having more conversations between Chaz and Ian, kind of filling the time between big events and what's happened. Right now, they're waiting for Kayla. They need that tape so they can go get their music played. So Ian's asking Chaz about his tattoos. He's like, I don't get it. I get the mom tattoo or things like that, but what are yours? He's got barbed wire. He's got a gecko, and why the Grim Reaper? He's like, and Chaz's like, well, death's always behind me, and I got to get up and do something to make this record work. Explaining the meaning behind his tattoo to him.
And then if he gets more money, he's gonna like color it in or put chaps on it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we get Ian going on air. Chaz and Ian's conversations have been kind of psyching Ian up at this point. So he gets on the air. He drops the bomb that the radio station is going soft at midnight on Sunday. It's like, we are changing to soft rock, so we are going to go out with a bang and have a parking lot party. Come on down, everybody, and invites everybody listening to the radio station to come on down to the parking lot.
Yep, they are going out in style.
He gives Chaz the mic and say, "Give him your message." Chaz hesitates for a second. He's like, "Come on, explain yourself. Let him know what you're doing." And Chaz just yells, "Rock and roll!"
Yeah,
Yeah, as he does that, Ian cranks the music. Milo, you can see, looks frustrated and annoyed because the music's so loud, and he can't plug his ears because he's tied to the chair.
right. So Chaz yells rock and roll, and Milo's like, "Really? That's it? You're going to jail for rock and roll?" And then he says, "There's an old saying, and it's from that '70s era of rock and roll. If it's too loud, you're too old."
Yeah,
And he says that as he cranks it up.
yep. He cranks it up all the way and then starts blaring out the music. Kayla arrives at the station at this point. She pulls up in her car while more and more people keep showing up. We see Beach popping out of a vent on the roof and get handed a gun.
Which
You got more HVAC talk for us?
I don't know how tall this building is.
I want to say 2 stories at the
So
most.
that's 20 feet of vertical ductwork.
I mean,
Maybe.
you at the beginning we saw them go up that ladder and drop the bag down. That was a 1 story roof section, but it looked like there was a second higher story next
Okay.
to it. So depending on which duct,
That might be okay. Yeah. I for some reason I was thinking like Die Hard. like like that level of building, and I'm like, there's no way this dude's climbing up 16 stories of straight vertical ductwork.
Yeah, no, this one is a little smaller building.
But it looks like they where did they opened up they had to open up the unit to
I
drop it.
it's movie magic. It looked like one of those the event that just kind of popped off, and you see his little hand reach out and his face in the mesh, and like here.
They don't have that on the roof. They would have had to open the unit.
Well,
Maybe they went in through the fresh air intake if it wouldn't have been big enough though to have that enough room. Because if it's only a one-story building, anyway, Kramer gets a gun.
Kramer gets a gun. Milo says he needs to use the bathroom. Rex lets him just go. He's like, "Good luck." So he's wheeling himself out of the booth, down the hall, over to his office because he doesn't go to the restroom. He decides to go to his office. He's probably gonna make a call or something or just get away. But he finds Pip and Susie getting busy on his couch.
True.
He's yelling at them to get off the couch. She's saying she quits. Pip's like, "No, I don't want you to leave your job because of me."
You're getting fired in
But
like a day.
at this point, the power cut's cut out. So the boys need to rally. Rex grabs Milo by the ponytail and wheels him back out into the hallway and over to a closet where Milo's like, "No, no, I'm claustrophobic. I can't do this." And he shoves him in the closet and shuts the door. And there is a knock at the door, and the guys head to the front door, and we get the final Ghostbuster. Harold Ramis is at the door.
Yes, it is.
He's playing a character called Chris Moore. Record producer, he says. I'm record producer Chris Moore. I heard you. The police said you're looking for a record producer. Come to sign you. They don't really believe him.
They don't believe him at all.
No, they don't believe him at all. Chaz goes to the door and opens it up, and he's like, "Okay, if you're a record producer, prove it. Answer a question." He's like, "What side did you take during the David Lee Roth Van Halen split?" I mean, he's like, "Come on, what side did you pick?" He's like, "Van Halen." He's like, "He's a cop."
And then he tries to support
He
his
tries to
claim.
justify it. He's like, "No, no, no. It was there was I don't remember exactly what he says, but there was differences there. We needed it needed to happen." He's like, "Okay, okay. Ask him one more."
Yeah, he basically does good enough to get another question.
Yeah, it's like, "Ask him one more question." And they're like, "Okay, in a wrestling match, Lemmy and God, who wins?" He's like, "Lemmy."
Stop.
And he says, he's like, "No." He's like, "God, no, trick question. Lemmy is God." They kick him out, lock the door. Oh, they don't. They kick him out. Chaz chases him out and starts yelling at O'Malley. He's like, "What is this? We gave you." We handed people over. You're trying to treat me bad here. Rex is handing out tickets. So Rex and Chaz are both outside of the building now. Rex is handing
Yeah,
out tickets to people. Chaz is yelling, standing on top of a cop car, saying he wants the power turned back on, trying to rile up the crowd. And he gets them to start chanting Rodney King.
yes, he does.
And everybody starts chanting Rodney King.
Yes, they do.
And O'Malley agrees. He turns the power back on. He wants this all to stop. He doesn't want anything escalating. You get the power back on, and Carl grabs Kayla as she comes running up and yelling, "Chaz, I'm right here. I got your tape." So with the chanting ended, Chaz looked down at Carl and Kayla. Carl calls him Chester, and Chaz he's sweating. He's looking nervous. He's like, I have a confession. I was I was a geek in school. I had short hair. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I had a bug collection. My name is Chester. Everything kind of pauses for a second. As it does, you're like, "Oh, that's a nerd bomb was dropped."
He dropped a bomb in the 1994, and being a nerd was not cool like it is now. Well, keep on keeping on.
Yep. We've got the quiet that usually happens after a nerd bomb is dropped, and we get a dude in the crowd who's like, "I play D&D too." People around him like, "Yeah, yeah." They're starting to get a little riled up again or fired up again, and then we cut to Lemmy, who's in the
Yes, we
crowd.
do. I'm waiting. I'm like, is Marsha gonna get this one?
Course I'm gonna get this one. We cut to Lemmy in the crowd. He's like, "I was the editor of a school magazine." And everybody's like, "Yeah."
Fun fact about Lemmy:
Ooh, I like fun facts.
an editor of his high school magazine. I looked it up. I couldn't find anything to confirm that.
Uh, okay. Here's a here's another fun fact. Lemmy is the name inspiration for Lemmy Koopa from the Mario Brothers song series.
That I knew. Yeah,
So they whoever was doing the English translations really liked music and they wanted Lemmy to be one of the Koopas.
yeah. They picked the one that's got the crazy eyes and runs around on a ball.
Yes. Okay, enough fun facts. We move over to another dude that says he used to wear corduroy pants, which apparently is a weird nerdy thing.
I wore corduroy pants.
At least it's not cool. I wore corduroy pants too.
Rachel wore corduroy pants. We all were like, I wore corduroy pants, and I thought I was cool. But they were cool in the late '90s, though.
Yeah, but everybody starts getting psyched up, or maybe they're cool for school kids in the '90s, not out of school or
Yeah.
just there. Everyone's getting riled up again. Then they start chanting Chaz. Kayla knees Carl in the groin and gets away, and gets to Chaz, and Rex and her all get back inside and lock the door up. So Kayla gives them the tape, and they start complaining about the condition it's in. It's like, what'd you do to it? Like, can we fix it? I don't know. I'll have to re-spool it onto another tape, but they think they can get it. Chaz starts yelling at her, and she slaps him.
Again,
Yeah,
just anyway.
and that was one step too far. It's like, okay, you're out. You can leave. As he grabs her by the arm and starts dragging her to the door, she's like, you can leave. You can go. She's like, but that's my song. He's like, no, it's not. I wrote it before I met you. Coming back to that line from the beginning.
Right. Which now they have both confirmed that he did indeed write that song before he ever met her.
Yeah. So he kind of leaves her alone, goes back into the booth to dwell for a moment, and she is losing it. She is not happy. She does not like being told that her song was not for her, and so she grabs a chair and tosses it through the booth window, and it lands straight on the console, where it starts to pop and smoke a little bit.
Yeah, it's wrecked.
Yeah, Chaz comes out, starts yelling at her again. She starts yelling back. She's like, "You don't even care about me. You're just gonna throw me out there." And he's like, "What do you mean I don't care about you? I'm in here holding these people, holding these hostages just so I can play your song. I got my girl, my music, and my bike. That's all I got." And we get the cheesy scene of him having to say, "I love you" for the first time.
Yes. He finally has to tell her.
It's like, "What do you think it means? I put everything here for you because if I can get this record deal, then I can pay you back for everything you've done for me." So he says, "I love you." They kiss, and Ian's like, "The board's fried. We can't broadcast."
They need to be about as far away from each other as humanly possible forever.
Yeah. Cut out to the parking lot again. The cops have gotten all their demands.
I I do like how happy Chris Farley looks filling that football helmet full of cottage cheese.
Yes. Yes. Officer Wilson is filling a football helmet full of cottage cheese. They're getting the guitars and the special instruments out of another car. There's a arcade machine, and they're getting rid of the man's already. Milo's trying to escape by using his face on the door handle. He gets it open and starts wheeling himself out. And Rex has Marcus and Carter come to the door with them and start bringing all the stuff in. He's like, "Go get the stuff." So they run out there and bring the stuff back. They get all inside, and as the doors close, Rex isn't paying attention, and the gun barrel is on one side of the door, and it closes on it, breaking off the end, causing all the hot sauce to spill out the front. Marcus looks at him and is like, "Oh, you son of a," and just slugs him.
Yes, he does. He's been waiting for this whole time to
Yes, he's
hit
been
him.
waiting. He has been, and he saw his opportunity. Carter sees. I don't know what's going through Carter's head, but he just pushes the door open and runs outside.
He's high.
Yeah.
He sees someone running, he's running too.
Well, Marcus follows him. Carter goes first.
Right, right. Yeah. So it's just like the gun, because like the gun's fake.
Yeah,
And so he's
and
like, I don't have to be here anymore. Woo!
yeah, Carter's out there running around, giving people high fives. Marcus runs out there. The cops grab him and throw him up against the SWAT van. And he's like, "That gun is fake," which Carl hears. He's like, "Oh, we're going in. The gun's fake." Milo's wheeled himself into the atrium where they're sitting. He's like, "What's going on here?" And Chaz shoots the pepper spray in his face.
Because, yeah,
Yeah,
if you're going to set up hot sauce in a water gun, you have to use it once.
yes. So Milo gets shot in the face with the hot pepper sauce, and the SWAT and cops are getting ready to come in when Breach, in this little vent thing, sticks his hand out with the gun, tells everybody to not move. He's got them all surrounded, or he's got them covered. Turn around and get their hands on their heads and get to the wall. Everybody kind of starts backing up a little bit, and Ian, he's standing there with a big baby bottle right under him. He just kind of pops up and knocks the gun out of his hand, which falls to the ground and starts firing all over the place.
Yep.
Everybody hits the deck, cops, SWAT, and the crowd are like, "It's a real gun!" They start dropping to the ground and running back. And by the time the dust clears, Ian's standing there with the gun. He looks at it, he looks at Chaz, hands him the gun, and says, "Okay, now what?"
Ian handed Chaz the gun.
Yes, yeah. Ian had the gun when they all stood up. He looks at the gun. He looks at Chaz. He hands Chaz the gun.
He's here you go.
Yeah, he's like, okay, so what do we do now?
Right. It didn't register in my brain that you had said that Ian handed the gun to Chaz, so I'm like, we'll get to it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Ian has Chaz the gun. Rex grabs the fire extinguisher and shoots it up at Beach in the vent system.
Which
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
a lot. I mean that could be fatal. Like really. So if
Uh,
you're at home and you've trapped somebody in a confined area, don't spray him with a fire extinguisher. You could kill him. If you like our advice, feel free to contact it. No.
Chaz gets on the phone to O'Malley and is like, "What the heck was that with the guy coming down from the roof with the guns? What are you doing about that?" O'Malley's like, "Hey, that's not us. I don't know what's going on." He's like, "How about we calm down? You send out a couple more hostages." And Chaz just hangs up on him. Chaz has had enough of O'Malley, and this is when somebody's at the front door again. He's like, "Hello, anybody there?" And they go take a look, and it's Jimmy Wing.
Yes, it is.
He's like, "Hey, remember me? I'm ready to." He's ready to sign them to a record contract. And since he is a record executive that they recognize, they bring him in the building. And this is when Milo continues to be his sleazy self, but he's offering to be helpful. He's like, "Hey, you're going to need a negotiator. I can do that for you. I've done this. I need 10%." He is like, he is right. You're going to need somebody, but he's going to do it for 5% and hits him with the baby bottle. He's like, okay.
Didn't argue much on that one.
He didn't argue, but Chad's like, wait a minute, you haven't even heard the demo yet. Why do you want to sign us? He's telling him that through the publicity and everything, you can't not get signed at this point.
Basically telling him like at this point, like you're famous.
Right.
Only thing missing is the contract. Like you're gonna get one.
Right. It's
So
like, well, why do we need this? Why do we need this guy? As soon as they hear our music, other execs will be coming down, and they're like, well, the board's busted. We gotta do something here. There's a knock on the door. Carter's trying to get back in. He's like, come on, let me in, Rex. I won't cause a scene. I was having fun.
yeah.
He's like, well, then you should have escaped, and they don't let him back in.
No, they don't. The cops drag him off.
Yeah. Chaz needs a breather, so he steps away and lets Rex and Pip set up a tape deck so they can actually hear the demo before saying, yes, we do want to sign you. Pip's worried about going to jail, and Rex tells him it's all going to be worth it. It's the risk is worth the reward because remember when Ozzy peed on the Alamo and was banned for 10 years, but then he went back 10 years later and just rocked it back in their face? Yeah. The risk is worth the
And
reward.
it's nice that they referenced Ozzy.
Yeah.
In a movie about rock and roll, you should mention Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. So Milo and Winger are working on the contract, talking about some provisions and clauses, and saying that they should take out this incident from the contract as something that they will be protected. Put something in that they will be protected from this incident as not breach of any contract or anything.
Right.
Chaz is thinking, eating a frozen burrito from the kitchen, just kind of
And it,
what?
and then he sprays it with the gun.
Yeah, he sprays it with the hot sauce gun.
Which and the first time I watched it, I forgot it was hot sauce. And I'm like, why would you put water in a burrito? And like he didn't I mean, did he microwave it?
No,
He
he just
just
kind of unwrapped it and started eating it and hit it with hot sauce, and he's wasn't
and then
this.
threw it away because it was gross because he found it sitting on a counter for who knows how long, didn't heat it up, and sprayed it with hot sauce that's been sitting in a plastic gun for 12 hours.
Yeah. Hey, it might have been even Beach's burrito. I don't
It
remember
might
what
have
he was
been.
having for lunch.
It might have been his lunch.
Yeah, Ian's saying he can't fix the board, so they can't play the music out. But they come in. Winger comes in with the contracts, like it's all good to go, everything's here. Just we need you to sign it. So Chaz is all stoked signing it, and Pip comes in with the tape deck, and Chaz's like, "Wait a minute, you didn't even hear it yet? Why are we getting this if you haven't even heard it yet? You don't even know if we're good, in your opinion." So he's upset. He's saying, no deal. We can't do this until you listen to it. He's still sticking to his once you hear us, you'll sign it, but I need you to hear us first. We can't just get gifted this.
Right. He's got to be heard before he gets signed.
Yes. So Chaz shows Milo what he can do with his contract. He wipes his butt with it and hands it back to him. And
I can't edit around that. That needs to be in there.
yeah, and Ian's like, "Oh man, he wipes his butt with his music contract. I love this guy." He has officially won over Ian completely. But
Yeah,
at this point, Wing explains the situation to him that ever since you signed that contract, because he didn't sign it,
he did.
ever since you signed that, you are under the protective umbrella of Palatine Records. rock stars don't go to jail, basically. We have lawyers, we can help you out, we can get your music played, that regardless of what happens, you're gonna probably get signed, but now you have our protection since you signed it. So what do you think? Chaz shakes his hand and we goes to the phone and starts calls up O'Malley and says he's like, "What did you do this to me? These guys are crazy. They want more demands." And we cut to outside with a large Chinook helicopter, the one with the double blades, carrying in a portable stage. Well, as portable as it can be, this thing's huge.
Yeah, that's an impressive stage.
Yeah, they bring it in, they land it. The plan is to have them go up there, play their song, record it for a music video, and just get this career started. So they're the getting in costume. They dressed up Pip in a weird little Lone Ranger outfit with a mask and a hat and a cape. Susie and Kayla are in their backup dancer costumes, and they head up to the stage to finally get their song out there. They start to jam and they realize there's no power to any of the instruments. They're not plugged in. Wig is trying to say, "Hey, it's all for the music video. We'll play the tape. You'll pantomime it for the music video so we can sync it up." And they're like, "No, we're not gonna lip sync. This is stupid." It's like it's for the video. That's how they do it. And they're putting their rock and roll feet down, like, "No, we're not gonna do this."
We're not gonna be Milli Vanilli.
Way to take a shot at Milli Vanilli.
How often do you get to anymore?
The music starts playing, but they don't start playing their instruments. They hands in the air, instruments on his back, but people don't care. They're liking the song, they're running towards the stage, and they just start trashing everything.
Yes, they do.
Kicking over the drum set, smashing the guitars into the amps, sparks are flying everywhere. They're going rock and roll on this stage. And with the crowd up there coming forward and they stage dive off.
That's a long way down for a stage dive.
I was looking at that the second time, like, that is a big stage dive. It's like 15 feet.
Yeah, that's a long way. That's a lot of trust, and a, a lot. That's a lot of trust you're putting in them strangers.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of them. They couldn't get out of the way. Anyway, the stage dives work. They get crowd surfed around for a little while. The song continues to play, and it fades into a TV screen of the Lone Rangers live from prison. They are putting on a concert in prison where Steve Buscemi looks remarkably like you did in a Halloween costume.
Thank you.
I saw that. I'm like, huh. Okay, I know that. It was the orange suit that did it. I didn't see it until he was in that orange suit. I'm like, oh, okay. But they're rocking out. Susie and Kayla are back up dancing on the other side of the fences behind them. Ian's on the phone as their manager now, talking to somebody saying that they could go on tour in 6 months, 3 months if they behave. They're rocking out to the music. The band is they're doing their thing. The prisoners all enjoying the show, and text kind of comes up and it says the Lone Rangers serve 3 months for kidnapping, theft, and assault with hot pepper sauce.
Which means that Milo pressed charges.
Yes, because he wasn't involved with all the money they made after the fact. Their album Live from Prison went triple platinum.
Nice, good for them.
So they did the crime, they did their time, they got a platinum record, and they're touring to this very day. And roll credits. I talked a
Nice.
lot. Let's hear your thoughts on the movie.
The best part about that movie is the fact that I never again in my life have to watch it.
Oh no. And here's me last time. This is an underrated movie. You're gonna like it.
Dude, Rachel and I, we sat down and we queued that up. I told her what it was going to be Airheads. She's like, I don't think I've seen that one. And I go, I don't think I have either. We got all set up 'cause I think I had the next day off after we recorded. And so it was queued up. We got snacks, we had drinks, all of it. We were like ready to go. And we watched this and we're like, did we get the wrong movie? And she's like, "Your brother said this was a hidden gem, right?" And I'll go, "Yeah." He said something like that, and she's like, You're not taking notes. Take notes so I don't have to watch this again." And I'm like,
Did she
oh crap, I do have to watch it again.
did she watch it with you the second time?
She did. And she was very much like, what are you pausing it? Oh, notes. Well, at least I got a break. But yeah, so I don't want to just dump all over the movie or badmouth the movie without having anything to say about it.
That's fair.
So it just I think I get what they were trying to do. I get that it was 90s comedy. It was a lot of
Yeah.
what that 90s comedy was. It was a lot of the Beavis and Butthead MTV style of comedy
Yeah.
that has really never appealed to me. I mean, maybe it did, but it's not. It was never a type of that raunchy kind of crass, crude comedy. Even though I laughed at it and was kind of into it for a while, it's not really something that I am proud of.
Okay.
And it's not an image of myself that I want to project going forward in my life. And so it just, I mean, movies like Tommy Boy and Black Sheep and like Almost Heroes, to name three Chris Farley ones, and other comedies from the 90s that did kind of have that crude stuff in it.
Billy
I feel
Madison and
right. And Billy Madison, I'm not sure I'll watch again. Like Happy Gilmore,
yeah.
the saving grace with a lot of those films is they were backed by a wholesome story and wholesome characters.
You're saying this wasn't a wholesome story?
No, no, the abusive girlfriend played for laughs. It wasn't funny to me. The the plot of them holding the whole place up at gunpoint, that I accepted that. I'm like, this is that's gonna be hard to get out of, but okay, I'm with you. I want to see what you do. And the fact that it just turned into chaos with not it seemed like they were grasping at straws to tie the whole thing together through it the whole way, and it it missed on every point for me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We both have different tastes in movies.
Yes.
I still enjoyed it, and I don't know if I don't it's not nostalgia that's got me on it because I didn't see it growing up. It's not like this is one of the Adam Sandler movies I watched growing up, regularly. I hadn't seen it till, like, 10 years ago, and I thought it was fun, and maybe it's because it was like a hidden Adam Sandler movie or a hidden type of movie that I would watch a lot of growing up. Because this would be something I think that would be on Lisa's shelf growing up.
We'll have to ask her.
I don't think she's yeah, I don't know if she saw it, but I mean, with all the movies that she had, I mean, she had a bunch of the Chris Farley ones, the Adam Sandler ones, a lot of the Jim Carrey ones,
Wayne's World, those
Wayne's
two.
World, yeah. But I mean, this kind of fits right in that vein. I
It kind of reminds me of more leaning towards like the Austin Powers,
Okay,
which I'm kind of
um,
curious to see how I'd feel about those movies now.
okay, make a note. I did like seeing a bunch of characters, a bunch of actors I do enjoy. I mean, of all the actors, I enjoy all those actors in the movie.
I did too,
I
and
mean,
I think the acting was good.
yeah,
There was no bad acting, no bad actors. I think everyone stayed true to their characters
yeah,
very well.
and I think that was enjoyable to watch. And I mean, maybe I'm still a little into that cruder humor, but I laughed way more than I'm guessing you did. But like you
I
said too, it was good to see Chris Farley in a different type of role there.
Yeah, and yeah, it was like I said. I didn't really laugh a lot, but like I'd made notes and I was like determined to find things I enjoyed about it. And as you can tell by the notes and the dialogue that we had back and forth, there was a lot of bits and pieces that I did appreciate and I did like about it. But as far as a movie as a whole, nope.
That's fair. I understand.
Just it was really surprised because me and you usually aren't so opposite on movies ever.
True.
So as soon as you said pitch this, I was like, oh great, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna get a hidden gem of a movie that I wish I would have watched growing up, and I'm watching this and I'm going, what? What is happening right now? And it's kind of fun to have that first time of us talking about a movie that you liked and I didn't. And then
Yeah.
maybe down the road we can switch.
Yeah, probably.
and I'll have a movie that I like, and you're just like, dude, really?
Could be. But I definitely understand where you're coming from with it. It's probably not for everybody. If you have seen the movie out there and enjoy it, like I do, let us know. If you side with my brother here, and please let us know too. Since we are both so decisive on this one, I would be interested to see what other people think of it.
Absolutely. You can email us at watchitbropodcast@gmail.com, or you can just contact us on Twitter at watchitbropod.
And now, for one of my favorite parts of the podcast, I get to find out what I watch next.
Oh, yes. And so we talked the other night, and I was basically just telling you, like, you told me you were excited, and I was like, I have the movie picked because I didn't want to give anything away.
Okay.
Because we are going to go in a completely different direction, and I'm going to go out of left field here with a movie that has the only thing that this movie has that's similar to any of the other movies we looked at is that it was filmed in the 90s.
Okay.
And this is a movie both of us have seen, and
Okay.
it was one of our absolute favorites growing up.
Okay.
And we are going to watch Maverick.
Okay. I I am happy to watch that. I'm excited to watch that.
So am I, very much so. We loved this movie so much growing up. In fact, with Grandpa's video camera, we made our own wannabe Maverick movie and became obsessed with poker for a little while.
Yes. Yes, we did. I am trying to think if there is any cross-pollination of actors, but unless it's a bit player, I don't think so.
Yeah. Like I said, this is the first movie, the first Western that we're taking a look at. This is the
Yep.
first movie that doesn't take place in the year it was filmed.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited. Maverick.
Yeah, yeah, Maverick. Well, we want to say thank you to everyone who listened along to this episode. And as always, our intro and outro provided by Nihilore. That intro being Grace, that outro being Haven. We hope that you'll join us next time as we take a look at Maverick. And as always, thanks for watching.